Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we are going to be looking at the UBS Billionaire Ambitions Report for 2024.
Their 10th anniversary edition.
Yeah,
A whole decade of data.
exactly. A decade of data about the world's wealthiest people.
And it's not just about, how much money they have,
Right.
but it's about how their fortunes are changing
Yeah, okay.
and how they're thinking about the world.
Interesting.
Yeah, some of the findings really surprised me.
Oh, I'm intrigued. So let's start with the big picture.
Okay.
How has billionaire wealth changed over the past 10 years?
Okay, so get this. From 2015 to 2024, their total wealth more than doubled.
Wow.
It reached a mind-blowing USD 14 trillion.
USD 14 trillion.
To put that in perspective, it outpaced the MSCI AC World Index,
And that's
which tracks global market performance.
so even when the markets are doing well,
Yeah.
gleaners are doing better.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Oh.
That incredible growth, that breakneck growth, was pretty consistent until about 2020. Since then, it's basically flatlined.
So billionaire wealth isn't growing anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of stalled out.
I thought they were immune to things like economic slowdowns.
Right.
What's going on?
Well, the report connects this to what they're calling globalization.
Globalization.
Yeah, basically the pace of globalization is slowing down.
Okay.
Trade wars, rising nationalism,
Yeah.
all of those forces that are kind of making the world a bit less interconnected.
So even billionaires can't escape these global shifts.
It seems that way.
But if the overall growth has stalled, are there specific regions or sectors that are kind of bucking the trend?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest changes is the decline of Chinese billionaire wealth.
Really?
It actually exploded until 2020, and then it went into a contraction.
Hmm.
The report attributes this partly to China's Common Prosperity Campaign.
Common Prosperity Campaign.
Yeah, you remember hearing about that.
I vaguely remember, but remind me what it was about.
Basically, China's attempt to redistribute wealth. More evenly, they've cracked down on some of their biggest tech giants.
What?
Implemented policies aimed at closing the income gap.
Mm-hmm.
So for billionaires, that means tighter regulations
Yeah.
and a less favorable environment for just accumulating more and more wealth.
Interesting. So China's billionaire class is facing headwinds.
Uh-huh.
Who are the winners in this new landscape?
Well, North America and Western Europe are still strong.
Not surprising.
But what stood out to me was the rise of India.
Really?
It's now the country with the third highest total billionaire wealth.
Wow. After the US and China,
Yeah,
India is really making its mark.
it is.
Is this tied to like their booming tech sector?
You're thinking along the right lines. Globally, tech is still the dominant sector for billionaire wealth.
Yeah.
It tripled over the past 10 years,
Wow.
reaching USD 2.4 trillion.
That's a lot of money.
It is, and it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Everything from AI to e-commerce is driven by tech.
Right.
And billionaires are at the forefront of a lot of that.
So they're reaping the rewards.
They are. But what's really interesting is that the second biggest growth area isn't what you might expect.
Okay, now I'm really curious. If it's not tech, what is it?
Industrials.
Industries.
Yeah, they reached USD 1.3 trillion.
That seems a little bit old school.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't have the same buzz as like crypto or biotech.
Right.
So what's driving that surge in industrial wealth?
Well, it's all about connecting the dots.
Okay.
So think green tech, the push for renewable energy, the trend of reshoring manufacturing.
Ah.
These are all massive undertakings that require huge industrial investments.
Yeah.
And that translates into growing fortunes for billionaires who are in that sector.
So it's not just about picking the trendy sector. It's about understanding the global trends and technological shifts that are creating opportunities,
Exactly.
even in unexpected places.
Yeah.
I like that. It's this is good deep dive.
Good.
I'm glad we're doing this. It's revealing a lot of hidden connections.
All right.
But it's not just about where they're making their money, is it?
No.
They're actually moving, they're relocating to different countries.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Well, since 2020, a surprising number of billionaires have actually relocated.
Okay.
We're talking 176 individuals representing USD 400 billion in wealth.
Wow.
That's 1 in 15 billionaires choosing to uproot their lives.
That's a big move.
It is a huge shift.
And it seems like it's a lot more than just chasing lower taxes,
It is.
which is what I always assumed drove these decisions.
Yeah, it's definitely more complex than that.
Mm-hmm.
The report highlights factors like access to healthcare and education,
Okay.
concerns about safety and security, and just the ease of doing business
Yeah.
in an increasingly volatile world.
Makes sense.
So it seems like they're reevaluating their priorities just like everyone else.
It's not just about money anymore.
It seems not.
They're thinking about their families and their lifestyles,
Yeah.
the future they want to create for their kids. It makes them seem almost human. Yeah.
And the report backs this up with some interesting details.
Okay.
Switzerland, the UAE, Singapore,
Okay.
even the U.S. are emerging as kind of popular destinations for these relocating billionaires.
That's an interesting mix.
It is.
It's not just about tax havens anymore.
Okay.
It's about finding places that offer stability, opportunity, a high quality of life.
Exactly. And remember, we're not just talking about a few individuals here.
Right.
That USD 400 billion in relocated wealth is roughly equivalent to
Okay.
the record USD 400 billion that emerging countries are expected to pay in debt service this year.
Wow. So billionaire relocation isn't just a personal decision.
It's not.
It's having ripple effects on a global scale.
Exactly. And to give you a sense of the human side of this,
Okay.
the report actually includes a quote from an American billionaire who relocated.
Okay.
They said, people are relocating to jurisdictions not just for tax benefits, but also for safety and political reasons. I moved several years ago with my family to a country, state, and city that affords the benefits most seek.
Wow. It's striking to hear it put so directly.
It is.
And it makes you wonder what you would prioritize if you were in their shoes.
Right.
What would make you pack up your whole life and move?
Big questions.
Yeah, but the story doesn't end there.
No, it doesn't.
The report also goes into how billionaire families themselves are changing, and it's not what you might expect.
No.
So what's going on?
Well, billionaire families are getting bigger.
Bigger as in more kids.
More kids.
I always imagined that billionaires were too busy
Right.
jet setting and making deals to have large families.
Yeah, you'd think so, but the data says otherwise.
Interesting.
The report estimates that the number of children in billionaire families has jumped from 4,136 in 2015 to 6,441 in 2024.
That's a lot more kids.
It's a lot more potential heirs.
I guess even billionaires are susceptible to baby fever.
It seems so.
But what are the implications of this growing brood? More kids means more complexities when it comes to managing wealth and inheritance, right?
Exactly. It adds a whole new layer of complexity to an already intricate situation.
Yeah.
Think about the challenges of raising kids with a sense of normalcy
Uh-huh.
when they're surrounded by unimaginable wealth.
That's going to be tough.
And then there's the question of how that wealth is going to be divided and managed across multiple generations.
Yeah.
It sounds like a recipe for some family drama.
Even in the best circumstances.
You're not wrong. The report actually says that 30% of UBS billionaire clients
Oh, wow.
find it difficult to manage their family's expectations around wealth.
So even with all the resources in the world,
Yeah,
these families are still grappling with very human problems.
they are.
It's a good reminder that money doesn't solve everything.
True.
But before we get too lost in the world of trust funds and family feuds,
Okay.
I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
The rise of women billionaires. I want to dig into that a little bit more.
Okay.
That's a trend I'm really interested in.
Absolutely. It's a key part of the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
The report actually calls it the Athena factor.
The Athena factor.
Yeah, and it's pretty significant. The number of women billionaires has surged by 81% over the past decade,
Wow.
reaching 344.
344 women billionaires.
And get this, their assets have grown even faster than men's during the same period.
That's incredible. So like a whole new generation of powerful women are emerging on the global stage.
It's an exciting trend.
But what exactly is this Athena factor?
Right.
What makes women billionaires different?
It's not just about the numbers. It's about a different approach to wealth and impact.
Okay.
The report highlights a trend towards what they're calling purposeful investing.
Okay.
And this seems to be particularly strong among women billionaires.
Purposeful investing. That sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
It's about aligning your financial decisions with your values.
Okay.
So instead of just focusing on maximizing returns, these women are investing in ways that promote positive social or environmental change.
So it's not just about making money, it's about making a difference.
Exactly.
It ties back to that idea of shifting priorities,
Yeah.
moving beyond just accumulating wealth
Uh-huh.
and towards creating a legacy that has meaning and impact.
Exactly. And that segues perfectly into the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we can explore how billionaires are approaching philanthropy and impact investing.
Awesome.
Get ready for some inspiring stories
Okay.
and some surprising trends,
I can't wait.
because it seems like the world's wealthiest individuals are starting to think differently about what it means to be truly rich.
Interesting. I like it. We'll be right back after a quick break. Welcome back. We're still deep in the world of billionaires, remember? And last we left off, we were talking about this really interesting shift towards...
Purposeful investing.
Yeah, purposeful investing. It seems like it's not just about making money anymore.
It's not.
But also about making a difference in the world.
Exactly. And this part of the report really gets into how billionaires are approaching philanthropy and impact investing these days. It's fascinating.
So what are some of the key takeaways when it comes to billionaires and giving back?
Well, one of the most striking things is that billionaires are becoming much more strategic about their philanthropy.
Okay.
Back in 2014, only 46% of UBS billionaire clients had a formal giving strategy. Now it's up to 56%.
So it's less about impulse donation and more about a considerate approach.
Much more intentional. They're not just writing checks. They're really putting thought into how they can use their wealth to create lasting change.
I like that. So how are they actually putting these strategies into action?
Well, they're aligning their giving with their values, thinking about long-term impact, and they're even getting their families involved in the process.
I like that it makes it more than just a transaction. It's about creating a family legacy.
It is.
That goes beyond just money.
Absolutely.
What are some of the causes that these billionaires are focusing on?
Well, the report doesn't really single out specific causes, but it mentions that there's a growing interest in things like climate change, education, healthcare, poverty alleviation. And they're not just throwing money at the problem. They're funding innovative solutions, supporting research and development, partnering with organizations that are actually making a difference on the ground.
So it's less gala dinners and more hands-on involvement.
Definitely a trend towards that. They're rolling up their sleeves and getting more involved. Serving on boards, mentoring entrepreneurs, and using their networks and influence to amplify the impact of the organizations that they support.
I like that. It brings a human element to the world of philanthropy.
Yeah.
Even with immense wealth, it's about personal commitment.
It is.
And action. But philanthropy is only one piece of the puzzle, right? You mentioned impact investing earlier. What's going on in that world?
Impact investing is really booming among billionaires. It's all about directing capital towards companies and funds that are not only profitable, but also generate a measurable social or environmental impact.
So you have financial returns and you contribute to a better world.
Win-win.
Win-win. I like it. Does it seem like there are any specific sectors within impact investing that are attracting billionaire dollars?
It's a really diverse landscape.
Yeah.
But some of the hot areas include renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, affordable housing, innovative healthcare solutions. They're really betting on companies that are developing technologies and business models that address some of the world's most pressing challenges.
So it's not just philanthropy. It's about weaving this commitment to positive change into all aspects of their financial dealings.
It is.
It's like putting your money where your mouth is, but on a whole other level.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about impact investing either. The report talks about how billionaires are changing the way they run their businesses too.
Interesting.
Sustainability and social responsibility aren't just buzzwords anymore. They're becoming core business principles.
So it's not just about making a profit. It's about doing it in a way that benefits society. And the planet.
It's a big shift.
Big shift in mindset.
But the report really emphasizes that this shift isn't happening in isolation. Families are playing a huge role.
Interesting.
In shaping these priorities. 60% of the billionaires that were surveyed said that they actively involved their families in discussions and decision-making around shaping a more sustainable future.
That's really cool.
It kind of humanizes the world of business a little bit. Showing that even at the highest levels, family values and this sense of responsibility for future generations can really drive decision-making.
I like that. Okay, so I'm feeling inspired right now.
Good.
But let's be realistic here. It's not all sunshine and roses, right?
True.
The report also talks about how billionaires are navigating the current economic landscape. And I'm guessing it's not all smooth sailing. What are some of the challenges and concerns that they're facing?
Yeah, you're right. It's not all impact investing in philanthropic ventures. They're definitely paying attention to global trends. And potential risks. The report goes into their concerns about things like geopolitical conflict, recession, and even a potential debt crisis.
It makes you realize that even with billions in the bank, there are still forces beyond your control.
Exactly. So how are they navigating these choppy waters?
Mm.
Well, their investment outlook offers some clues.
Okay.
They're still bullish on North America,
Okay.
both in the short and long term. They see it as a haven of innovation, productivity, and energy security, but they're less optimistic about Asia in the short term,
Okay.
which, might be linked to concerns about China's economic slowdown and regulatory changes.
That makes sense. So they're hedging their bets.
Yeah.
Balancing optimism about certain regions with caution about others.
Uh-huh.
But what about specific asset classes? Where are billionaires actually putting their money?
Well, interestingly, they're increasing their exposure to both ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
They're investing in developed market equities, which you might expect,
Yeah.
given their confidence in North America.
Yeah.
But they're also diversifying into real estate and what we call haven assets,
Haven asset.
like gold and cash.
What makes those so safe in times of uncertainty?
These assets are generally considered to be stable
Okay.
and less susceptible to market fluctuations. Gold, for instance, has historically held its value during economic downturns.
Okay.
And cash, of course, provides liquidity and flexibility in uncertain times.
Makes sense. So they're taking a belt and suspenders approach,
Yeah,
preparing for both growth and potential turbulence in the markets.
exactly.
But it's not just about traditional investments, is it?
No.
The report mentioned something about billionaires getting into art and antiques.
You remember that, there's a growing interest in art and antiques as alternative investments,
Okay.
a way to diversify their portfolios
Okay.
and potentially hedge against inflation or market volatility.
So they're building a financial fortress,
They are.
multiple layers of protection.
But even with all of that wealth and diversification, I'm guessing there are still some things that keep them up at night.
Definitely.
What are some of the key concerns?
Well, according to the report, their biggest worry is geopolitical conflict.
Okay.
That tops the list, followed by fears of a global recession,
Uh-huh.
rising inflation, higher taxes, and a potential debt crisis.
Yeah, that's a lot to worry about, even for a billionaire.
It is. It really makes you realize that no amount of wealth can truly insulate you
Yeah,
from the complexities and challenges of the world that we live in.
very true. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
there's one more elephant in the room that we need to address.
Okay.
That massive USD 6.3 trillion wealth transfer that's expected to happen over the next 15 years.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one. And it
Yeah.
really has the potential to reshape the landscape of global wealth and philanthropy.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that number.
It is what that kind of transfer will mean for the world. I think we need a whole other deep dive just to scratch the surface of this topic.
I agree.
Okay, so we're going to unpack all of that
We are
and more in part 3
part 3.
of our billionaire deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our billionaire deep dive. And I gotta say, my mind is still reeling from that figure we dropped at the end of part 2. Expert speaker, USD 6.3 trillion. USD 6.3 trillion. That's the estimated amount of wealth that's going to be changing hands over the next 15 years as billionaires pass their fortunes on to the next generation. Expert speaker. It's a seismic shift with the potential to reshape the global wealth landscape. Okay, so let's break this down. The report forecasts that this transfer is going to go primarily to family members, but also to charitable causes. But beyond the sheer scale of the number, what are the real-world implications here?
Well, imagine the ripple effects this transfer could influence entire industries, impact global philanthropy, even shift the balance of power in some areas. We're talking about a redistribution of wealth, unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's almost like we're witnessing the rise of a new generation of influencers, not just in terms of wealth, but in terms of power, the power to shape the world.
Exactly, and it raises so many questions. How will this wealth be managed? Will it exacerbate existing inequalities, or could it actually be a force for positive change? How will it impact the landscape of philanthropy?
Those are some big questions. Let's start with the families themselves. What happens when billions of dollars suddenly land in the laps of the next generation?
Well, it's a double-edged sword.
Mhm.
On the one hand, it opens up incredible opportunities.
Mm.
Imagine being able to fund groundbreaking research, start innovative businesses, support causes you're passionate about, without worrying about financial constraints.
It's like having a blank check to make a real difference in the world.
Exactly. But on the flip side, there's a potential for immense pressure. Managing that level of wealth responsibly comes with a huge weight of responsibility. And then there's the age-old challenge of wealth and family dynamics.
Right, the classic shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations scenario. Sudden wealth can be destabilizing if it's not handled carefully.
Absolutely. That's why the report really emphasizes the importance of family governance and wealth planning. Billionaires are increasingly focused on preparing their heirs not just to inherit money, but to manage it wisely and to use it for good.
So it's not just about handing over a trust fund. It's about instilling values, providing education, and establishing clear structures for decision-making.
Precisely. It's about creating a framework that ensures the wealth is managed responsibly, both for the benefit of the family and for society as a whole.
I love that idea of responsible wealth management. It acknowledges that with great wealth comes great responsibility. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about the potential impact on philanthropy. With trillions of dollars changing hands, could we actually see a surge in charitable giving?
It's definitely a possibility. The report suggests that this wealth transfer could usher in a whole new era of philanthropy. We might see a wave of young heirs stepping up to support causes they're passionate about, whether it's through traditional philanthropy, impact investing, or even starting their own foundations.
It's like a ripple effect. The values and priorities of the older generation are being passed down along with their wealth, and that has the potential to create a wave of positive change that could really last for generations.
Absolutely. It's a pretty exciting prospect.
It is. It brings us back to that core theme of shifting priorities. We're seeing a move away from just accumulating wealth to a more holistic approach that considers legacy, impact, and the greater good.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final thought-provoking question posed by the report. If you were a billionaire, how would you use your wealth to make a positive impact? What cause would you champion? How would you involve your family?
It's a powerful question to consider even if you're not in the Three Comma Club. It challenges us to think about our own values, our own passions, and how we can each make a difference in the world regardless of our financial resources.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about billionaires. It's about all of us working together to create a more just sustainable and prosperous future for everyone.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. And listeners, we hope this exploration of billionaire ambitions has sparked some new ideas and inspired you to think differently about wealth and its potential for positive impact. Until next time, keep diving deep.